Hey, how's it going? Right, Daredevil, Guardian Devil. Um, One of my favourite books so far from this collection. It's really good. How's it compared to the previous Daredevil book that we had on here, Born Again? Um, there's no comparison really. Born Again was such a good storyline, but this is still. That's no demerit to this. That doesn't demerit this in its quality. It's just because Frank Miller is a writer that, you know, he is really a definitive, like, Daredevil writer, and anything that he writes with the Daredevil name, with the Batman name, uh, is spectacular. Like, it's gonna be really difficult to, like, beat that benchmark. This takes a lot of story cues from Born Again, but it kind of explores those, it explores the plot threads that are introduced in that further, especially the plot thread with, um, Daredevil's mum. We open and we have Karen Page writing this note to Matt Murdock, and it's kind of been recounted whilst he's sleeping because he's obviously just read it the night before, and obviously the memory's still playing over in his mind. Meanwhile, at a hospital, a guy goes into the maternity ward of this hospital and shoots the whole thing up, killing every baby that's in there. And there's this woman that's kind of carrying her baby, and she's running. Um, she's running from this car that's chasing her. And her parents were both, like, murdered before she decided to take leave. So Matt Murdock, currently at, like, a church confessional, he's like making his confession. He hears this woman, so he decides to jump out the window and save this save this woman. He pulls out the two muggers from the car, and, you know, and then gets stopped by the police. The police are there. They kind of look at him weirdly. Then cut to a few hours later. Matt Murdock's at his confessional room, or his, like, lawyer room, his office, and he's kind of having this inner monologue where he's still thinking of Karen Page, and he's like, the smell is still in his, like, her smell is still in his bathroom. Her hair is still in the bristles of the hairbrushes. So Foggy walks in with a new client. This woman, like, she's in the middle of a dodgy divorce case. She's trying to get rid of her husband, who, like, had her, like, forcibly and had her, like, who had her forcibly sterilized, and husband's just not a really nice guy, so she wants a divorce. And Matt Murdock picks up the two, like, twin heartbeats again, and they're close. But when he gets out of the building, no one's there. we see these two muggers that were trying to, or these two like guys that were chasing this girl. They're getting interrogated by their boss, who's like playing a game of miniature golf in his office, which I found quite funny. They walk into this elevator room, and he just like lets it fill with water, drowning these two people. Daredevil's out on like night patrol. He sees this girl getting mugged, and he proceeds to beat up the mugger, and then leave. And this woman who's like sleeping in this what looks like a barn, she wakes and she sees a vision of like these angels appear in front of her, and she just says, "Thank you, Lord." Franklin Nelson is talking to Matt about this like new case. He's not really listening. He then picks up these two heartbeats again, and the woman and her baby are like right outside his office, and the woman walks in and tells him basically, I've come into like the possession of having a baby. I've had a baby, but here's the thing. I was a virgin. The baby doesn't have a dad because she sees it, or the way she sees it is that she thinks that the baby is some kind of savior, and she thinks that that she's like the Virgin Mary and her baby is the baby Jesus. So she gives the baby to Matt Murdock, and she's like, "Protect this with your life. I know you're Daredevil. Protect this baby." And then he's just like, "Wait a second. What am I meant to do now?" And so he takes the baby to the only place that you'd think to take a baby, to the house of his ex-girlfriend, Natasha Romanoff, the Black Widow, who's basically like, what's the baby? Whose baby is it? What's going on here? And she's like, and Matt's obviously like, I don't know. And she said it was the baby Jesus. So she's obviously like, you're really gullible. I don't believe a word of what you're saying. This is obviously another trick from like Wilson Fisk, from one of your big bads. And he's like, if it was, I'd know by now. So he leaves the baby at Natasha's like house. He leaves the Black Widow to look after this baby. And the next day, another stranger walks into his office. This Nicholas Macabre, who begins to explain that this baby isn't actually the savior, it's the Antichrist. And this Nicholas Macabre seems to know every intricate detail about Matt Murdock's life, and he's basically like, evil taints everything it touches. You have X amount of hours to get the baby to me, or your world will come crashing down around you. And Matt Murdock picks up this like cross that Nicholas left, and it was kind of his calling card. And Foggy walks in, and he's like, so I'm going to get dinner with the girl that we're supposed to be helping. I'm going to go find out about the case that we're supposed to be working on. can my credit card's kind of run out, can I borrow yours? And he's just like, yeah. He just hands him his credit card. So Matt's kind of just walking like through this alley, and he's like, it's got to be Fisk. This whole situation has to be Fisk. And then this mugger jumps out of nowhere, and Matt Murdock continues to like beat up this mugger, like he's about to kill him. And then these kids just see him, and he's like, and they're like, are you gonna kill that guy? So he just runs away. And then see this woman, she's still getting chased even though she doesn't have the baby, and the two people catch up with her, take her, throw her in the boot of a car. Matt Murdock's then on a rooftop, and he's got this inner monologue. He doesn't know what to do, and he's slowly going insane. And then Black Widow comes along, and she goes to give the baby back to Daredevil. So he proceeds to take the baby, lift it up like Simba, then proceeds to throw the baby off of the roof of this building. And Black Widow obviously jumps out to save the baby, questioning, like, Matt Murdock saying, "Are you insane?" And Daredevil's like, "The baby's the Antichrist. It needs to die. It needs to get killed." It's like, he's here to save the world, he's here to end the world. Black Widow's just like, she. It's a she. It's like, how do you know? Oh, you made me change its nappy, didn't you? You made me change its nappy, didn't you? And this is the thing that I don't get. Throughout the rest of the book, the baby is referred to as an it. Even though here they establish the baby has a gender that's known to Daredevil, to Matt Murdock. But anyway, Franklin is like back from his like date with this woman that he's supposed to be helping with the divorce case. Also at this time, Franklin Nelson is going out with Liz Allen. And he's sleeping with another woman. That becomes important later on. So Matt Murdock's at home. He's like looking at it. He's trying to examine what this cross is, and he's like, I need to look into this Nicholas McCabe guy. He might be a problem. And then he hears a knock on his door. He opens the door. It's Karen Page, and she's like, Matt, I have AIDS. The next day, Karen Page is in Matt Murdock's bed, and Matt is in this like interrogation room. He's interrogating Franklin Nelson, or Foggy. He's interrogating Foggy, and he's just like, "What happened? What the hell happened?" And he was like, "Right, so I had dinner with the girl, with the lady that was supposed to be working this case for. One thing led to another. We went to bed together, and Foggy looks next to him, and she's turned into like some kind of demon thing, and then she jumps out the window, but when she lands she's like human again, and Foggy's just looking out of his window, and it looks bad, hence why he's being interrogated. And Foggy's just like, what do I say to Liz now? I just feel like God's punishing me for cheating on Liz. And like, I know that Foggy's like a nice guy, and I know all that, but how are we meant to feel sympathy for, like, how am I meant to feel sympathy for Foggy Nelson at this predicament? He's, yeah, in all right, in like all legal like terms, he's an innocent man, but he's cheated on his wife. He's cheated on his soon-to-be wife. Come on. Matt Murdock goes to talk to Foggy's mum. Meanwhile, Karen Page gets visited by Nicholas Macabre. Foggy's mum tells Matt that like Foggy's like getting cut from the business. All ties to him are being like cut. Even if he does like come out of this an innocent man, which looks unlikely, he's still like cheated on someone. That looks bad on any business. And Matt's just like, he's my friend and he's your son. If anyone should have his back, it's us. If you're not going to take his side, then I quit. And so he does quit. And he's doing his nightly rounds as Daredevil. And after he finds like another mugging, he gets tonked over the head. And meanwhile, while all this is happening, Nicholas Macabre is talking to Karen Page, basically being like, the baby gave you AIDS, the baby gave you AIDS, the baby gave you AIDS. And she's like, I can't, even if the baby did give me AIDS, I can't kill a baby. I'm not a monster. And so he's just like, what if the evil is already spread to people you love? AIDS is contagious, is what he basically says. AIDS is contagious. You've had sex with Matt Murdock. Bada bing, bada boom. Put two and two together. And it's something that's never really addressed again during the book, like, or throughout the rest of like Daredevil continuity. Like, whether or not like Karen Page actually does have AIDS in this story, Matt never actually went and got himself tested or got himself checked. So he could very well just be running around as like the world's first superhero with AIDS, which is really weird. Daredevil wakes up in this like white room and then gets blasted with this like angelic shriek, and wakes up to see this like huge hulking red-faced creature who's like, I go by the name of Baal and I'm your guardian angel, but you need to give me the child now. So Daredevil like he's not listening to anything that this Baal is saying. He's just looking at this. He's just trying to find like a break in the cycle of this angelic shriek, because he finds out that it's like a radio thing and it's on a loop. So he throws his billy club at one of the radios in this room and jumps out of the window right in front of a moving truck. And when Matt wakes up, he's on a rooftop with Natasha Romanoff, and he, throughout this internal monologue, is basically like, I can't trust this woman. It's obviously there was something on that cross that's kind of infected Matt Murdock's mind. So he has a fight with Black Widow, ends up grabbing the baby, and he's about to hurl it off of the roof again. And this time he jumps with the baby and swings just enough to like break the fall, and they land right in front of the church. Meanwhile, Nicholas Macabre is talking to his like affiliate, and he basically says, I used to fight Spider-Man. Would he have been this easy to manipulate, to control? And basically at the end of it, he's just like, bring in the assassin, bring in the guy we paid to do all this. So Matt Murdock is in this like church healing bed, and the nun obviously is his mother, and they have this kind of talk, and Matt's basically, the basic gist of what Matt's saying is, why did you leave? And it's said in quite a brutal, like kind of a selfish dickhead way, and so his mum quite rightly just turns around, slaps him in the face. When like Matt, like they continue to talk to each other, and Matt gets like a lot out of the conversation actually, and when he goes downstairs, like he's kind of like cleared his head, he knows what he's got to do, and when he goes downstairs, Karen is like praying to this altar, and she's like, where's the baby? We gotta find the baby, we gotta give it to Nicholas Macabre. And he's like, what the hell happened? Who got to you? And this speech that Daredevil delivers, or Matt Murdock delivers to Karen, is the speech I play, or that I read every time that Karen is apparent or on screen during the Daredevil Netflix series, because I absolutely hate her character in that series. It is terrible. So I'm not saying that the performance is terrible. I'm just saying that the characterization of Karen Page in that show, she is so much of a dickhead. She is such a dickhead. But, and it's true in the comics as well, like Karen Page is an arsehole to Matt Murdock, and Matt Murdock takes it all, and he takes all of this punishment from this woman that he loves, because it's the woman that he loves because it's a pair of tits and an arse in the morning. So, you know, he basically just says, "You have AIDS because you were a junkie who was with God, who was with God only knows who, God only knows who and how many people. Your carelessness destroyed your life, Karen, not some demon child, and that carelessness may have destroyed my life too, for all we know. So you want to blame someone, then blame yourself." That is probably the best speech I think anyone could ever give to Karen Page. I mean, the next panel is like Matt Murdock crying on the church stool, like, "What have I said?" But I would be giving him a round of applause, because this woman's basically like, we need to kill this baby because the baby gives me AIDS, or the baby gave me AIDS. It's like, you didn't ask for a second opinion, you didn't go to an actual doctor, you just got told you had AIDS, and then you got told that the baby was a demon child and the baby gave you AIDS. You absolute thick idiot. And then we see Nicholas Maccabe's talking to the assassin that he's hired. The assassin has like this pin. He throws it, and then it lands back in his book as a bookmark. And it's Bullseye. It's obviously Bullseye. It's always Bullseye. This is a Daredevil book. Of course, it's going to be Bullseye. Daredevil's gone to Doctor Strange to find out what like is on this trinket, and he's trying to find what is basically on this trinket. What is it? Is it supernatural? Is it a drug? What is it? And it's a drug. Obviously, it's a drug. So Doctor Strange is more worried about this like rumor of a a Deathbringer coming to the world, and this rumor of the end of the world. So, what do you do when you want to stop the end of the world? You summon in Mephisto, of course. Mephisto's design in this is really weird. It's kind of cool looking, but also really weird. He has like this Cyclops visor and like the really weird teeth. I kind of prefer it when he looks more like humanoid looking. So Mephisto's basically like, there's not gonna be a Deathbringer. You should read your you should read your Bible more. You should pay more attention to the Bible. It says that the Deathbringer or the like Antichrist will come back as a fully grown man, not as a child. So you're an idiot. Everyone else is an idiot. You need to go to the church because your soon-to-be wife or your would-be wife is in the church with a crazed lunatic. Daredevil gets hauls ass to the church, and everyone's dead. We see this like horrific image of these of like every dead person in this thing. One guy's just like got forks in him from head right down to like throat. And Daredevil and Bullseye have a fight, and it's brutal, and it's amazing, and it's everything you want. Karen Page comes out, and she's like, "Take the baby, I don't want it anyway." And Bullseye takes it, unwraps it. It's just a like toy of Cupid. It's Daredevil, so he throws it back, and and then he's like, "Where the hell is the baby?" Goes up to the nun, who's goes up to Matt Murdock's mum. Is about to like whack her in the head and kill her. Then Karen just pulls out a gun, or pulls out Bullseye's gun, and Bullseye's just like, right, here's the first rule. Here's the first rule to being an assassin. Never discard a loaded weapon. Second rule to being an assassin. Bullseye. And then Bullseye's basically like, I'm gonna leave old Red with like one final wound. So he throws the club back. It's meant to hit Daredevil. Karen just jumps in the way. Gets a square in the chest. And Bullseye's just like, I can't believe I missed. And he walks away with the baby. And Karen is just bleeding out. And she's just like, I'll miss you. And she dies. So Matt Murdock, now in a state of depression, he's just like holding a gun to his head. And he's getting this he's getting these memories like flying in of Karen, and it's like a conversation where she's like, when will you stop? And he's like, oh, I guess when we have a kid. I feel like I'm gonna stop when we have a kid. And of course Karen's like, don't ever stop. I don't care what happens, just promise me one thing, you're not gonna stop. And so Daredevil just puts the mask back on, and he's like, I won't stop. So Daredevil goes all the way to Macabre's tower, and at first he's encountered by like these like hand ninja clones. He takes them down in seconds. And then he grabs onto one of the elevator cables, and he's like going all the way up, and he's like, there's 50 floors of this, and then the like ground starts burning around him, and he sees like Karen's face, and she's like, you're not leaving without me. And the door like flings open, and out, and the guy on the other side of the door is Bao, and he's just like, right, we need to sneak through this. The baby's fine. We just need to get through here, and then we'll be fine. But the people are coming, so we need to prepare for a fight, essentially. And then Daredevil's just like, I can hear a ring of circuitry in that guy. He's just another costume. So he punches straight through all of the circuitry, revealing that it's none other than one of the assistants of Macabre. And so Macabre has watched all of this unfold, all of these events unfold, and he's just watched Daredevil walk from A to B, up all the way up the tower, and he's like, right, first rule of show business, always make an entrance. And who's the one that's been manipulating all these events? Who's been like the big grandmaster of this whole like downfall of Matt Murdock, this ultimate test of faith? Mysterio. Of all people, Mysterio. So, understandably, Daredevil just lashes out completely, and Mysterio's like, you want you want to save the baby? Well, I can take you to the baby, but you have to listen to my speech. And he basically recounts how ever since he was a child he wanted to be in special effects, and when he tried to make his big special effects debut, it was with a fight with Spider-Man, and ever since he's like wanted to get revenge on Spider-Man for making him look like an idiot. He even joined up with the Sinister Six, and now, and only a few months ago he found out that that through all this time, like having like chemicals ingested and like being surrounded by the synthetics of his suit, it's all that radiation, all that synthetic stuff, all that like poison that he's ingested has basically given him cancer, and he's got a year to live. So he wanted his last hurrah to be against Spider-Man. He wanted to totally and utterly bring down Spider-Man, but he didn't, because at this point Spider-Man wasn't actually Peter Parker. It was a clone of Peter Parker called Ben Reilly, because this was when all the Clone Saga malarkey was happening. And Mysterio was like, my greatest enemy is no more. I can't fight him. Who do I fight? Daredevil. I've always been seen as a second-rate villain. It only makes sense that my last hurrah would be taking down a second-rate hero. So he goes to visit Kingpin, who's basically like, I don't care what you're going to do. You're going to need a lot of money to get any information from me. And so Quentin Beck's like, for $1 million, he gave me everything. So Quentin Beck went to work organising this whole scheme. He had this woman artificially inseminated whilst unconscious, so she believed that she was like a virgin. She believed that it was a virgin birth. And then he basically says, telling Karen Page that she had AIDS was a very believable story, but it was also one that where it was also a case of it was her fault, not his, because she didn't get the second opinion. She just believed the word of like one doctor who wasn't even a doctor. And so Matt Murdock, after being told everything about this, after being told everything about this whole scheme, he's basically like, all of this for a sick game. And and Daredevil's basically, he picks him up. He's basically like, tell me where the baby is or I kill you. And so and so he tells him where the baby is, and Matt Murdock basically like takes Mysterio through where he's taken all of this from. He's basically like, didn't you try this on J. Jonah Jameson a few years back? And also driving me insane. Wilson, the Kingpin, tried to do that as well, and you're no Kingpin. He's basically like, everything you've done, everything you've had has been stolen off of other people. Now where's the baby? So he just presses a button on his like wrist, and the doors open, and the baby's there. Fortunately, Daredevil can still hear the heartbeat of the baby, which is, lucky for Beck. And then Beck kind of shouts at him, "You're not gonna want to miss this next show, because I stole this one, because I stole this act 2 from Craven." And he turns the gun back into his mouth, and he shoots. And Daredevil's basically like, I didn't even shed a tear. Or the baby doesn't even shed a tear, and neither do I. And then it's the funeral of Karen Page, and Matt Murdock's got to do this eulogy, but he can't do it. So all he says is, "I miss you, Karen." And after the actual funeral, Peter Parker comes up to Matt and he's like, "Do you want to talk?" Matt's like, "No." Same place, same time. And Matt's like, "I'll try." And so Foggy comes out like a free man. And he's basically like, "Liz came to visit me, and she broke things off, understandably." And Matt and Foggy basically are like, "Well, Karen gave me a lot of money in her will, and there's still a big hole in Hell's Kitchen where my house used to be. Do you want to set up shop and like reopen like Franklin, reopen Nelson and Murdoch?" And Foggy's like, "Do I want to reopen Nelson and Murdoch? Hell yeah." And so they do, and Spider-Man and Daredevil are both on a rooftop, and Daredevil's basically like, "What's the point of this anymore? We're not a cure. If anything, we're just a band-aid on leprosy at this point." And Spider-Man's just like, "You saved the baby." That's the important takeaway from this. You saved the baby. And Matt just looks, and he's like, "Thanks, Peter. I owe you one." So Matt goes back to see Natasha, and she, quite rightly, punches him in the face. And he's just like, "Mysterio." And Natasha's basically like, "You need to do some soul searching. You need to find out what is wrong with you. And I'm not just saying the whole Mysterio stuff. Before that, there was something wrong with you. You need to fix it. having your girlfriend die doesn't help matters, but you need to take time to get reacquainted with the world. And they just hug. And it's a somber scene. Then Matt Murdock goes to the hospital to see how the baby's doing, and his mum's there, and they have a nice talk. And the very last page is Matt Murdock at confessional, and he's like, "Forgive me, Father, I have sinned. It's been a month and a bit since my last confession." And he's basically like, "I can hear a fire about a few blocks down. I need to go." And he's like, "Sorry, Father, no rest for the wicked," and he just jumps out the window. But he's got this like smirk on his face, as if he's like joyous of like going out. I've spent a lot longer on this book than I have any other book, and I think that's just a testament to how much is packed into this. This book is written by Kevin Smith with art by Joe Quesada, and I just want to talk about the art for a second. The art, the visuals in this are absolutely beautiful. However, the eyes are quite off in a lot of panels. I understand when drawing Matt Murdock why the eyes would be up, but it's on every character, and it's really off-putting. It's really off-putting, and it's quite funny to look at, honestly. But there is a lot of contention as to, does this story go a bit too far, and is it too out there? I don't think so. I don't think there's anything in this that's too terribly bad. It's a Marvel Knights title, so it's going to be a bit darker than your usual Marvel stuff. But then again, what wasn't dark about Daredevil, Guardian Devil? Wasn't that also a very dark book? I don't know. I think it was a very dark book. Yeah, I don't think this breaks any new ground that Born Again didn't break. I think this just, it works as an excellent companion piece, and it works as like delving into the character of Daredevil even more so, and getting into the real, like, the Catholicism of Daredevil as a superhero, and why that drives him so much. And there's a big subject behind the Catholic guilt that Daredevil or Matt Murdock feels throughout the book, and what like plagues him throughout his entire tenure as Daredevil. And it's actually a big thing for Daredevil as a character, and why he continues to be Daredevil. It's because of this like sense of Catholic guilt that he feels. So yeah, Daredevil, Guardian Devil, I really, really bloody enjoy this book. I would like to say that I enjoy this more than Born Again, if only because Born Again is a lot wordier, and the artwork in Born Again is very dark. Here it's very bright and bombastic and colourful, despite the dark like subtones. I feel like the art is dark when it needs to be, and it's bright and colourful when it needs to be. And there is a lot of really good imagery as well. Like when Doctor Strange comes in, there's like stars and like magic symbols everywhere, and I really like that. So yeah, Daredevil, Guardian Devil. I give it a 10 out of 10. See you guys in the next video. Like, subscribe, share, peace, boom.